Good evening, guys. We're pulling a night shift. Andrew showed up later in the day, and we just got done putting in our first roll of these 360 chain rolls. Very aggressive. Very big difference from the old rolls to the new rolls. Namely, comparing these rolls, you can't see down through them at all. Then we go over to the next roll we're going to do. You can see down through them. See what I'm talking about? Now we go over here, and you can't see through them. So we managed to do the first row unit without losing too much blood. We think we got this down. So we're actually going to work on taking at least one more row off and getting it changed, because harvest is fastly approaching and we got to get it done. Now, a lot of this stuff, we're putting the brushes back on it. We just bought all 6 rows of brushes. So with a combination of the new chain rolls with these brushes, that should greatly reduce the amount of butt chilling we're getting on the ears as they're coming through the combine. I'm going to say, Andrew, you know the specifics. What are the specific yield savings from using the brushes with these chain rolls?
Should be about 1.8 bushel to the acre of corn that we're keeping from coming down to the ground before it even has a chance to go through the combine.
Mm-hmm. And the big thing about these brushes is that we had these on last fall, and you could see that they closed up the entire row. So the kernels, any kernels that actually did get shelled off, we're actually getting caught in the brushes and bringing them into the feeder house.
But it gives a softer landing.
Exactly.
So when the cobs hit and the rolls are bringing the plant down, cobs are flying down pretty fast, lands on a brush versus just hitting and bouncing around on that metal and shelling. That's where guys see the biggest difference, is less kernel shelling at the head. Yep. Able to bring the whole cob into the combine. And the stock rolls, it's residue management. It's getting the microbes started in the corn stalks right away. So yep. I'm really excited. I've seen them in lots of different situations, and it's gonna be really nice seeing them here.
Yeah, that's what we're really hoping for. It's what we're doing to the corn head alone is going to really help with yield savings, with residue management, and all around just being more efficient as we're going through the field. Because as you saw, our old rolls were not being very efficient when it comes to pulling the stalk down through the roll, or through the head. We were actually getting a lot of that stripping where all it was just yanking the ear off the stalk. It wasn't actually pulling the actual stalk down through the head, and that just made a very unsightly mess. That VT back there helped quite a bit with that, but you know, when you're looking at planting next year, it starts this fall. So we're actually going to go ahead and take off another roll and try to get it back on yet tonight. So hopefully we can be done, hopefully by tomorrow we can work on it. So, all right, thanks for watching, guys. Well, that's a quick way to get your attention. You see Andrew is actually doing some cutting right now on the front of the corn head. We had a roll pin that was binding up. We didn't have enough clearance to get it out all the way. We were trying to, well, at the time he was using a cutting wheel and he didn't have enough room to cut through all the way. So that's when we broke out the torch and got it done in a very short order. This job actually really doesn't take too long. You are going to be getting a video from my brother's channel, a bit more thorough as far as what it takes to do this. This is about the best I could really do, is just let the camera run and you guys can see the process of doing it. Overall, it took us from start to finish an hour and a half per roll, and the second roll is what we're going off of. The first row, it was trial and error. The second row actually went pretty flawless, other than
just cutting that roll pin out. And I say that overall, the thing that takes the most time in doing this is what we're doing right now. We're putting the roll puller on, and that actually is probably the most tedious part because it's actually hydraulic. It's got a little screw on it that you actually turn in by hand. That's what we're doing right there. And what it does is that every crank is like a millimeter worth of movement. And luckily, we've done 4 rolls so far overall. And it worked great on all of them. It's a slow process. Hopefully Ryan will get a better shot of how long it takes to actually to do it. But this roll puller definitely made quick work of the pulling these off. I honestly don't know what a person would do as far as if you didn't have a puller. I have a hard time thinking you'd do this at all. Maybe take a torch to it and cut the rolls off altogether, but I was really impressed by how easy it was to pull the rolls off because I've heard horror stories about trying to get these off. And this one, it took us a little bit of work just getting it all put together and assembled correctly. But once even the first roll we did, it came off really quick. All things considered. Now, actually what we're working on right now is pulling off the second roll. I think we actually are still working on the first one. You can tell because once we start putting the head back together, and it really doesn't take that long. But harvest is coming. We'll be glad to have this corn head done. Doing these rolls has been hanging over our heads for a while. We didn't get started doing this until 4 o'clock, and we worked on it until I think it was 10:30. And like I said, the first row we did, which is 2 rolls, it was a little bit of a learning curve. But I don't know. I don't think tomorrow will be too bad. We have 4 more rows to go, and I'm feeling pretty confident we'll be done tomorrow. I have to go through and I have to make sure all the gearboxes in the head are full of grease, and I got to do the oil banks on the end of the head. But that shouldn't be too bad. It never is. But yeah, it was a little bit of a pain. We do need to shop someday, working by a trouble light, but we got by pretty good. Here we put Ryan to work. And that's essentially all that puller is. It's just a little hand crank. I think finally we got tired of it and we actually went and found a bigger pipe. It made it a lot quicker to spin around, had a little bit more leverage on it. May or may not have been a good thing, but it got the job done. So actually I have a little bit of work to do on our bean head. That one kind of slipped to the back of my mind. We got to check all the sickle sections and guards, and we have to get it greased yet. I'm just figuring that we'll be doing soybeans first this year. Typically, we have been starting with corn the last few years, but I'm thinking this year, for how the beans look, it's a very, very good chance that we'll be doing beans first this year. Hearing more and more stories of guys with soybean fields that are ready to come off. Andrew actually checked the moisture of a field that was east of us by about 5 miles, and the moisture in that field was 13%. And for those of you that don't know what we're aiming for, 12%, 11 to 12% is what we generally aim for as far as soybean moisture when we go to harvest. A lot of guys actually aim for 12 to 13, but you get docked for anything north of 12. But what are we doing here? See, Andrew and I actually did the first row by ourselves, and believe it or not, it was actually easier with 3 of us there because the 2 of us are working on the head. Somebody can go around back. We have the crescent wrench on the back shaft, That actually can turn the roll, and the other two of us can like put that roller on or that roll puller on and everything. But yeah, this second one went through. I was really impressed by how fast we got it off, but we got it back on probably within 20 minutes. I don't know how long my video actually went here, guys. I don't think I actually have us putting the rolls back on. But this was, I have all this compressed down from an hour and a half. And I don't think I included the last video because my computer was struggling here. But, yeah, this is really just pulling the roll off, the old one. If you got them about halfway off with the puller, we actually found that it got it loose enough that we could take the air impact and push them off the rest of the way. It really sped it along. We found that on the third roll we did. But we actually don't have a lot of a mess there right in front of the combine. It's been a lot worse as far as tools and parts laying everywhere. And we will be getting those brushes put back on as we go. They say we had the brushes on for a little while last fall, and we liked them, but like I said, our old rolls were shot to where they weren't pulling the stock through the head, or stock down through the head like it should. We were getting more of a shearing action. It was just pulling the air off the stock and not actually pulling the stock down with the roll, and it just made a mess. And these rolls, I'm already very, very happy with how they look like they're going to perform, and that's without running it yet. I say we were sweating a little bit, making sure everything is lined up right, and we've been turning everything by hand to make sure it's loose. But yeah, we're finishing up here on taking the last roll out, and unfortunately I don't have any of us installing it, but check out my brother's channel here in the future. I know he's going to be doing a video on it. So that's all I got for tonight, guys. Take care. Take it easy. Keep in touch.